All right, we got everybody here. We're starting a minute past the hour, which is, I think, fine. Most people will be joining. The session will be recorded for distribution later on as well, which is great. I want to say thank you to everybody for attending our first. I saw. Oh, that's interesting. Saw a thumbs up just jump through the screen. Welcome to our first masterclass. We're going to be talking about Operator Connect today. I'm really excited. This proves out my thesis for leaving the legacy company I was with and joining SIPPIO is because I see nothing but opportunity in the marketplace for organizations to leverage Teams more broadly than what they do today. You know, most of the Teams user base uses Teams for messaging and for video, and I think there's a sea change coming where organizations are going to move their phone systems from that legacy on-premise deployment platform into Teams. Voice is just a feature now that you're going to turn on. But from my past experience, it's always been confusing of how do you do that? What's the path to do that? There's all sorts of options to get there. There's like 3 or 4 different, routes to your destination. And, I believe that Operator Connect is going to be it's going to be the shortest route to that destination, if you will. So we've put together a great panel today to join me to talk about this. And this is the first, like I said, in an ongoing series that we're planning. Our masterclass webinars are going to be designed to deep dive into various industry topics with insights and commentary from leading experts. And unlike usual webinars, the focus will be on broad-based education rather than, us just kind of trying to push out a narrative and talk to you. We want to talk with you. So our ultimate goal is for participants to walk away informed, empowered, and motivated to enact meaningful change and succeed in this marketplace. So like I said, this is our first masterclass. It's focused on Operator Connect, and hopefully this session will demystify one of the industry's hottest topics, providing tools to leverage its benefits and position carriers and resellers for success. So my name is Steve Forkham. I am Director of Program Management here at SIPPIO. I'm going to be kind of your host for the session today, and we've got a great panel of experts from our space. And what I'd like to do is ask each of you just to do a quick introduction of yourselves. We'll start with Tamor.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having us. My name is Tamor. I work for Microsoft. I look after our global strategy for telcos for modern work on the GTM side.
Thanks. Adam, you want to go next?
Yeah, pleasure to be here. Adam Ball, CTO and co-founder of Cloud Revolution, and fun to be here with all my friends.
And Dino, last but not least.
Yeah, thanks for having me. My name's Dino Caputo. I'm a partner with Enable UC, also a Microsoft MVP, and yeah, looking forward to this.
Awesome, thank you. So Tamor, being with Microsoft, can we kind of throw the first softball to you? Can you walk us through what was the primary driving force behind the creation of Operator Connect, the program? Like I mentioned, there's a lot of different options for adding voice to Teams, but why Operator Connect? What do you guys see the disruptive capability of this program?
Yeah, it's a good question, Steve. When we were first thinking about sort of evolving what was then our direct routing solution, direct routing at that time was the only way to bring in PSTN connectivity into Teams. And then we sort of thought about it. We were really in this mode of our customers will do it themselves, and they'll have some sort of on-premise thing to be able to connect the PSTN. And the PSTN hadn't evolved. This is about 5 years ago. And then we started to think about, okay, how can we make this a little bit more interesting for people who want to host infrastructure for customers who would probably want a more dedicated cloud service. So then direct routing, a hosted direct routing model came out. And then some of our telco operators, they started to pick that up, and they were like, oh, this is kind of cool. I want to do this for my customers. I want to have a scalable service. And then when they started to deploy it, they were like, oh, this doesn't really work. It was really meant to be a customer-centric solution for direct routing. So we thought, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. Let's figure out what works for our telco operators, because when you have a service that you need to provide as a telco operator, it's got to be at scale. It's got to work in a certain way. It's got to have a certain SLA. It's got to have all of these kinds of things. So that's kind of where Operator Connect was born. Fundamentally, Operator Connect is really a platform. It's a platform that has some basic foundational values. We've got some really great connectivity. We've got high availability and resiliency built into it. There's some really cool things that we do in a back-to-back support model where we support our operators who are Operator Connect partners, and then some proactive monitoring, a bunch of different things that are under the surface. I always tell people, customers and operators alike, that Operator Connect is like an iceberg, right? So it's sea level, and what you see on top of it is, yeah, it's a number delivery mechanism and it's PSTN connectivity, but underneath that ocean, there's all this massive work that's gone into making sure that Operator Connect is just a very high quality service. And so that's kind of where it was born. And once we thought about Operator Connect as this platform, we thought, okay, we'll be able to then build a bunch of other services on top of it. So we're not really done yet with Operator Connect. There's a bunch of things that we want to bring additionally on top of Operator Connect once we have that foundation. So Teams Phone Mobile, as an example, is a service that sits directly on top of an Operator Connect platform to be able to deliver mobile quality and mobile capability onto that as well. And there'll be more upcoming as we sort of evolve our roadmap. But that's kind of it. I'm sorry, it's a long-winded answer to your question.
Okay.
The context and history behind it.
Yeah, no, that's okay. And I think you hit the key word, scale. Direct routing is more of a one-by-one. You build 1,000 times, you sell each one once. Operator Connect is more of a build once, sell 1,000 times.
Yeah.
So for partners and carriers to be able to, empower customers to turn Teams Phone on in their environment without, the one-off, I need to build a connection and I need to kind of customize this around your environment. It's more of that scalable business. Now, the other thing I want to kind of bring out is Operator Connect sounds like it's a carrier-only offer. But Adam, can you walk us through what your experience was in joining the Operator Connect program? Because, correct me if I'm wrong, Cloud Revolution is not a carrier per se, right?
Correct.
So can you walk us through your thought process and what you saw in bringing that on?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are a systems integrator. So we help customers deploy Teams and Teams Voice specifically. What we saw as we went through this, and there's lots of great folks out there. Taimur, you mentioned a lot around the direct routing, long history there, right? Going back in SBCs and everything. What we always found is that customers were looking to us as their integrator to help them understand the options and help them go to what fits for them. And so for us coming into this, it's a real good way for us to be able to offer to our customers something that's scalable. Steve, you just keep mentioning that, and is quickly able to be turned up. And so that speed and scale components were the big part for us. Is it the fit for every customer? No, but because every customer is different. But when we have this, it's a perfect fit from that standpoint for us to be able to assist our customers, and it gives our customers that comfort that, hey, Cloud Revolution's already doing this. They know how to work with it. It can go fast, and so it really helps from that standpoint for us.
Yeah, speed is huge and scale is huge. Dino, what market trends are you seeing that Operator Connect is either addressing or impacting in our space?
Yeah, that's a good question, Stephen. There's two main things that are happening, and the first one is organizations are clearly shifting from direct routing to Operator Connect, and this is consistent with the desire by a lot of orgs that I work with that they want to eliminate on-prem hardware. So they want to, and that's the impetus for moving to Teams Phone, is removing that legacy PBX. And now, but prior to that, you had to deploy SBCs and still have complicated solutions to deploy. So in being consistent with that desire to remove that on-prem hardware, we're seeing the shift to Operator Connect. Obviously, this isn't happening immediately for some orgs that still have some heavy investment in SBCs and other on-prem PBXs, but certainly the trend is moving from direct routing to Operator Connect.
Yeah.
Secondly, again, OC, it offers an easy and fast way to facilitate voice pilots. So I'm seeing a massive amount of organizations wanting to try and enable the Teams Phone option. They're using Teams, they're heavily invested in Microsoft, they just haven't enabled the phone system yet. So Operator Connect offers a real easy path We're not talking weeks or months. We're talking hours and days to get started to use Teams Phone. So, prior to that, we had to get direct routing working, and you had SBCs, and while that's a fine solution, it's just that's not happening overnight or in days. That's a week to months type of scenario, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it didn't really make sense for a pilot. You're spending a ton of money just to do a pilot, and you're not sure you're going to go down that path. So now we have that choice. Obviously, calling plans exists in that decision as well, but Operator Connect now makes it there's even more choice for that.
Yeah, and I think the key for me, you mentioned customers that were transitioning to Teams Phone, and it was more of an extension of their phone system. I'm integrating my phone system with Teams because we use Teams, and I think it was Forrester did some research, and they found that organizations that migrate from their on-premise legacy platforms to Teams Phone can lower their total cost of operations by almost 45%. And then when you mix into the game Copilot launching, that I don't remember who said it, but I read it on LinkedIn somewhere that Microsoft is totally changing what a phone call is with Copilot and Teams Phone. So there's a lot of demand, in my opinion, in the marketplace from organizations who are looking at this, and it creates an opportunity for a partner to really kind of be the Sherpa, so to speak, to say, all right, let's move you from where you are to what the future looks like. And you don't need the hardware, you don't need the complications, you don't need this stuff. Operator Connect especially gives you that fast, easy, and flexible path to turn this on. You made a great point for partners, pilots, demos, to be able to rapidly turn on a quick demo for a handful of accounts for a customer is one of those things that you always kind of cringe in a sales environment. It's like, oh gosh, this is just going to turn into a lot of work. Are you going to really use it? To be able to say, yeah, let's go to the web portal. Let's turn this on. We'll get 5 users and pump new numbers in, and Bob's your uncle. You're ready to go.
Hey, Steve.
Yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to chime in on something because Dino, you made a couple of comments in there. One of the other things that I see that from our standpoint that our customers are giving us back is they like the predictability. So from this in the past, and Dino, you and I have both been around in this space for so long that we've both had this happen where customers come back and they'll say, how do I anticipate my future spend? How do I anticipate what that's going to cost me in the future? And with Operator Connect, it just gives them that comfort of, hey, I know what it's going to cost me as we move forward. And so going back to the comment of scale, I don't worry about from the pilot standpoint. Like that is fantastic, the speed of which way we can get to pilots, but it's really the speed that we can get to scale, and that the customers can say, I can go up and down as I know we've got customers that have serious seasonality. Whether it might be state, local governments where they have a huge influx of employees in the summer that need numbers that, well, great, we can add and remove. And so when it comes to that long-term view, that's the big thing for us. So
I just thought of something really quick for the audience. I forgot to do a little housekeeping when we started. If you have questions, feel free to pump them into the chat. We're going to, take questions from the audience as we go. I'll sprinkle them in so I'm watching them. So keep pushing them forward. I forgot to mention that at the beginning, so apologies. I see the growth in Microsoft Teams Phone. Microsoft reported in the last quarterly earnings, I think it was 45% year-over-year growth in the adoption of Teams Phone. You contrast that with the rest of the UCaaS market, which is growing at roughly, I think Ring said they're growing at 11%. So it's dramatically outstripping the market. It's still really early stage. When you think about, I think there's close to 300 million monthly active users of Teams, the platform, but there's only, less than 20 million of those that are PSTN enabled. So tremendous opportunity for partners. But a lot of times they've seen Teams as an obstacle to overcome. Like, I got to talk to you, how do you integrate with Teams in order to sell you this UCaaS offer, versus it being an opportunity to jump into. And I think Operator Connect really unlocks that for a lot of partners. So I want to ask this question of the whole panel, but I'll start with Taimur. What are some of the early indicators of impact and growth that you're seeing from the Microsoft side? And then I'll pass the question around to everybody else. Taimur, I think you're on mute. Hey, Tamor, I think you're on mute.
Apologies,
No worries.
muted due to a barking dog. But I think it's a good question, but one I don't think that we can generalize on. I think it varies from customer segment. It varies by geography as well. I think we can attribute it to a multitude of reasons. Some of them, I still hear a majority of people with on-premise equipment they're hesitant to move their telephony into the cloud, not because they don't trust the cloud or anything like that. It's because they just don't have a compelling reason to ditch whatever they've had for a long time and move this into a much more scalable, seamless, agile solution. So we've still got a lot of people with on-premise that we need to migrate over. We also have a bunch of people that are leveraging technology that they've been in contract with for years and years, and they're still sweating those assets like desk phones and some telephony equipment there. So I think that's part of it as well. Where I think our partner ecosystem can help is definitely driving the awareness. A lot of people actually don't know that Teams has all this capability. They also are sometimes, a little bit hesitant to say, oh, it's going to be really difficult and my IT admin has to do it. And who's my Microsoft admin? I don't even know. I'll just go get a PBX from my telco or somebody else. So there's a lot of different factors that are contributing to it, which sort of are hampering that growth. But we're hoping to slowly remove those blockers. I think Teams Phone is probably one of the most talked about things that every CIO talks to us about when they're looking at us. We're very well penetrated from a licensing perspective. So it's not just a matter of turning it on, right? And that's kind of where SIPPIO and the overall partner ecosystem can help as well.
Yeah. Adam, what are you seeing in the marketplace for markers of growth, future look? What does Cloud Revolution see ahead of them for Operator Connect and Teams Phone in general?
I continue just to see growth. I mean, I think, as we kind of all mentioned, there's lots of folks who aren't there yet, lots of users of Teams, and I think, like you mentioned, a lot of executives, CIOs, C-levels that are saying, how do we take what we're doing today and expand on it, especially within their licensing that they own, right? That's a big factor, as they try to look for, am I paying for things twice, in that mindset from there. I think the other big thing that we haven't talked on, and I don't know that we want to, this could probably be a whole nother one for you, Steve, at some point, is just really that idea of digital maturity within the communication space for folks. And I think Operator Connect sets people up for that. It's really around those integrations and how within your organization are you taking it? And I hear this all the time of, oh, I moved myself to phone system with Teams, I'm done. And to me, Tamor made the comment earlier of the tip of the iceberg, and to me, just simply moving phone to Teams with PSTN is the tip of the iceberg for your ability to mature your communications within your organization. There's a lot of integrations that can start to happen from there, whether that's contact center integrations, whether that's other chatbot or power virtual agents and things like that. There's just a lot of places where companies can really see direct productivity enhancements to their businesses once they're there.
Yeah, and you and Tamor just hit on something I think is important for channel partners to understand, is when you're talking to your customer about Teams Phone, the goal has got to be to create a permission structure for them to change their kind of embedded belief that voice is delivered via this, a product, either a product that you buy and deploy or a service that you subscribe to like UCaaS, and to really kind of show them that it's not a product anymore. It's a feature that you turn on, and chances are you've already got the licensing to do it. It's simply a matter of ordering, changing how you consume your calling. So to me, that's the objective. And what we've done at SIPPIO to empower our partners is create the marketing wing kit in a box, and our customer facing collateral and content is all designed around helping the customer basically recognize and embrace that permission structure. To that CIO who says, yeah, I've already got the licensing. I'm focused on austerity right now because it's either, reduce my overhead costs in IT, or I have to look elsewhere in my SG&A budget, which nobody really wants to do. But that also brings to a second point that you touched on. There's this perception in the marketplace for the last, some odd time from customers, especially on the telco side, the telco advocates. You can't go to Teams Phone. It's missing, key features and functionalities that we've got on these premise phone systems. On, I can kind of be like an orchestra conductor routing calls from here to there. New innovations. I keep coming back to Copilot because I'm the most excited about that. But to Taimur's point, there's a whole host of things underneath the surface that's flipping the perception on its head. Now, Teams Phone has the features that you'll never get with those other systems. So it's driving even more embrace. And to your point, Adam, that opens up a whole new opportunity for channel partners. Because with Operator Connect, and especially using our fast, easy, flexible platform, there's no pro services from SIPPIO to activate a server or activate a user. You just get them up into the system, they're ready to go. But that opens up a whole other opportunity for the partner to really be that trusted advisor and to kind of show the what's possible, what other services do you need? How can you best optimize this new tool? Because again, Microsoft's changing what a phone call even is. So I think there's nothing but opportunity there. Dino, I want to give you a chance to chime in. What are you seeing, for market impact and growth trajectory and anything else we've talked about here?
Yeah, just to touch on your last point, there is definitely opportunity for partners. Like it is easy to enable phone system or Teams Phone. However, you still need to walk the customer through, well, how do I set up call queues and how do I get my auto attendants working? And you need just to describe to them and show them and help them enable these things to move them from what they were on before to what they can do with Teams Phone. So I think there's tremendous opportunity there. It's not like, my role is going to go away and Adam's role is going to go away. We're still going to be there to help customers for sure. And things like Copilot are definitely going to make that story more interesting. But I'd say just, consolidation. I'm seeing a lot of that. Customers want to move off all these disparate systems. I deal with a lot of enterprise customers that have 40 to 50 different solutions within the borders of their company, which seems crazy, but it's actually quite normal. And they just want to, they've owned the license forever. They just want to take advantage of using it. So, we help them consolidate and help them understand easy ways to enable these features. And lastly, that notion of the feature comparison, I mean, that's been around since the Skype for Business, the OCS days, And again, I think Microsoft did a good job taking the 11 or 12 most used features that we need. I mean, we often replace these large PBXs that have like 1,000 features, and really, customers are only using a half dozen to a dozen of these things. So I think that's a big misperception. Is it needs to support every single one of these features, and certainly there's newer and newer functionality being added to Teams Phone every day.
Yeah, no, I agree. We touched on this a little bit, but I want to stick with you, Dino. I believe there's a SSL certificate that needs to be updated, and we're starting to kind of warn direct routing customers. There's an action that's got to be taken. I see Adam nodding his head. You talked a little bit, and Adam mentioned, OC is not a fit for everybody. There's still some places where, direct routing, and more specifically direct routing as a service, is still kind of a necessary piece or a necessary tool in the partner's toolkit. Can you talk a little bit about how Operator Connect really kind of addresses scaling challenges and most specifically around direct routing, and how new features like evolving APIs and certifications kind of further are driving people towards the Operator Connect lane, so to speak, for adding calling to Teams Phone?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a good question. I think in terms of the scale, like if customers or partners want to get their offering out using direct routing, that certification process is really long and complex. So prior to Operator Connect, if you were a carrier and you wanted to get involved with Microsoft, you had to go through this really lengthy certification process. And my understanding was it's a 12 plus month process just to get onboarded. So, and I'm even seeing some carriers that offer direct routing and offer now Operator Connect are moving to lead with Operator Connect. So they're not even bringing direct routing into discussion. And there's quite a few carriers in this position. So it's just easier to scale and manage long term. And even customers wanting to get to Teams Phone using an SBC, like, so they have that option certainly today. Again, that setup time is so much longer than just going with Operator Connect. So again, will it be a fit for everybody? No, but if you have certainly a choice, I think it's kind of a no-brainer to, do I want to set up an SBC and deal with certificates expiring and firmware that's going to go out of date and all this care and feeding for that, or do I just want to move to Operator Connect and never have to worry about that sort of thing again?
Yeah, and just sorry to interrupt. I just want to make sure, one of the things that we really should make sure everybody understands is that the mechanisms for delivering any kind of carrier network into Teams, whether it's fixed line or mobile, they're not exclusive to each other. I think a lot of people feel like, they have to choose. And I think there's a question in the chat as well. Like, you could have within an organization, you could have a few users that are on calling plan. You could have a few users on Operator Connect, a few of them on direct routing, and a few of them with Teams Phone Mobile. That's totally fine. They interoperate with each other. They work together. You can create dial plans to leverage one or the other. Like, there's a lot of flexibility provided to be able to do that. Initially, when we used to have just Microsoft calling plans and direct routing, you could actually have both, and you could allow a user to be able to route out direct routing as well. So it's not a choice to be made. Like, a customer doesn't have to choose to say, hey, do I go down the path of Operator Connect or do I go down the path of direct routing? In most large customer scenarios, it's probably going to be both. Like, you may have most of your users in Operator Connect because it delivers just this extremely amazing experience, as well as the simplicity that it brings. But you may have a corner case where you may have a third-party PBX that you want to integrate with, like, or a fax machine sitting somewhere. And then so direct routing might actually be a good fit for that, to be able to bring those estates in as well. So I just want to make sure that people understand it's not really an either-or choice. It's more of a, how much do we do Operator Connect versus DR or the others? So I just wanted to sort of bring that.
No, it's a fair point. And I think, one of the analogies I use a lot when I'm talking to partners is, this is a toolbox. You're going to have a Phillips head screwdriver. You're going to have a flathead screwdriver. You're going to need, them based on the situation that comes up. Yeah, maybe most of your screws that you deal with are going to be Phillips head, but you're going to have those oddball, flatheads that you need. And this is one of the values of what we do at SIPPIO, is we offer a platform that does both direct routing as a service and Operator Connect. Adam, can you touch a little bit on the question? What are you seeing from a Operator Connect providing scale that direct routing doesn't? Where are some of those pocket use cases that you guys still need the other tool?
Yeah, I'll answer the second question first, just because it's easier.
Sure.
We just see certain spots. We work internationally, and so we've got folks where we might have locations in India or China or other locations where Operator Connect's just not available today. And so from that standpoint, or even calling plans, right? So it's really more, Timur nailed it on the head, that nothing is mutually exclusive from each other. And we always talk to customers about that, of what fits best for a specific location, to bring that into Teams, because ultimately you're bringing it to Teams and it doesn't really matter where it's coming from. So with that, and I think that's usually what we're talking to customers about in it, is what fits best in that location. Now you might go back to a point where you go, okay, I've got 10 locations. If I can get 8 of them consistently on the same carrier platform, etc., that makes a lot of sense. So you might choose to put all of those 8 locations onto Operator Connect versus 3 on calling plans versus 5 on Operator Connect. It's just kind of easier from a management standpoint, logically. So it's really a matter of what fits best in that spot.
Great. So, Timur, can I ask you the next question? What's the expected ROI for carriers who decide to join Operator Connect, and how long is the typical onboarding period?
The onboarding period really varies. It really depends on the operator appetite to be able to do all of the steps that need to be done. And of course, if you're working with one of our accelerator partners, that's supposed to be an accelerated way for you to onboard onto Operator Connect. ROI is interesting, right? It all depends on what the go-to-market looks like for an operator. We have some operators that are basically, providing Operator Connect as a service for just, delivering minutes and phone numbers into Teams. And that's all they want to do. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's fantastic. That's their business. And then we have some operators that, really put a lot of value into bringing that telephony service into Teams. Like, for example, doing managed services, ad moves, changes, feature enablement, end user training, adoption, change management. There's a whole list of things that operators could then wrap around this particular service and really, really be able to monetize it. We've done a lot of research with firms such as Forrester, and we've published that research online in terms of what that overall opportunity looks like from Teams Phone, and then generally over for modern work as well, because Teams Phone is a way in. When we think about managed services, then you think about meetings and meeting rooms, and then you think about other things like Viva and Copilot and M365 workloads. So it really, really depends on the appetite that the telco operator has to be able to move horizontally across the Microsoft 365 stack, to be able to bundle value-added services across what they deliver in Operator Connect as well. So, like I said, if you're just doing phone numbers and SIP trunks or channels, it's probably going to be a longer ROI for you, because you're not really changing the economics of the game. You're just basically replacing one service for the other. Having said that, though, because Operator Connect is a scaled solution, where, as you said, Steve, earlier, build once, sell many times, the COGS on that should be a lot better. It should be a much more margin-rich solution than having to build out an SBC stack every time you meet a new customer, right? Mm-hmm. So we do believe that the economies of scale do play a part in Operator Connect, just because that's the nature of the service. And then, of course, having a much better support arrangement with Microsoft in terms of how we support you, the amount of time that it takes to resolve issues, and the SLA, the higher SLA that we provide, that should give you some cost benefits as well as an operator. So overall, the financial picture with Operator Connect should look a lot better than it does with whatever solution that they're selling now.
Great. Adam, can I ask you? So Cloud Revolution is one of our launch partners for SIPPIO Operator Connect for partners. So like we mentioned, you're not a carrier. And we're expanding access to the Operator Connect program because we believe in the value of the automation and the speed to market, and frankly, to what Taimur just hit on, the lucrativeness of the solution. Can you share what Cloud Revolution's expected ROI is and jumping into this program, and what your experience has been becoming a member of the Operator Connect for Partners program?
Becoming a member was easy. That was super easy. I mean, it took us a little bit because we were one of the early adopters there. But from a overall standpoint, it was quick. It was easy. It was no issues there. So very much appreciated. I think from an ROI standpoint, we didn't look at it from that perspective. I know that sounds weird as a business. I think every business looks at everything from an ROI standpoint. But I really think the way we approached it is this something that truly adds value to our customers and gives them, like you mentioned, different tools in their toolbox. We can absolutely go and do direct routing as a service, Operator Connect, Teams calling. What we found is that from an Operator Connect standpoint, this just gave us more control to provide an excellent experience to our customers. And that to us was a huge value add, where we can control that from the first spot to the end. And that was the big spot for us, is that ability to just walk people right through it. We didn't have to worry about going out, getting quotes, going through the rigmarole that Dino described of what it might take to onboard a new carrier, a new provider to a customer. We're able to do all of that with our customers.
So a partner that wants to join the program can pretty much just jump right in and start servicing their customers as the customers are asking for. There's not really that kind of investment, the lead time. You can just add this to your toolkit and get going. There was a question in the channel about, the technology solutions distributor broker model, where they don't necessarily have the technical staff, but they want to help their customers migrate to Teams Phone. This is an opportunity for them to start seeing Teams as an opportunity instead of an obstacle, because they're leading with UCaaS offers that, our CEO uses the analogy that we sell cheese for somebody else's hamburger, right? Like, the customer is using Teams. I don't need to sell you another messaging and a video service just to add voice to Teams. I just want to add voice to Teams. And, for those types of partners, this is a tremendous opportunity, because now it's a tool that they didn't have before, to go in there and really kind of meet customers where they are instead of dragging customers to where they want to be. Dino, we haven't talked about the role of an accelerator. So, as it pertains to, bringing operators in and whatnot, one of the things we haven't really mentioned is that role. So can you tell us a little bit about what accelerators do in the Operator Connect ecosystem, how they enable carriers and resellers to onboard rapidly and activate services without investing in large-scale infrastructure?
Yeah, for sure. So an accelerator simply is just a carrier like SIPPIO is one of these examples. Surprise, surprise. They can enable other telcos that are interested in getting into the Microsoft phone space to be part of Operator Connect. So when we first started down this journey a little less than 3 years ago, we had 11 carriers in the program, and now we're up north of 70. So they just remove all that heavy lifting. So SIPPIO would have had to go through an extensive certification process, to get set up with Maps or the Microsoft Azure peering service and all this redundancy and connectivity into the Microsoft data centers, just to make sure that everything like call quality and call path is all like super top notch, and there's not going to be any problems with customers making calls on those. So, mom and pop carrier comes into the equation, says, I got all these customers, I want them to get on the Teams. I can't go through this 12 to 24 month certification process. So they approach an accelerator like SIPPIO, and you can enable them. In my understanding is that time is cut to in some cases, just a several week process just to get the connectivity set up. And you're now taking their trunks into your infrastructure that's already leveraging Maps, and within a much shorter time, you can accelerate their onboarding onto Teams. So now all these different carriers that start to appear in the Teams admin center are able to offer Operator Connect. So I think that's super cool. And that's why we've seen such a huge explosion from 11 to the 70 carriers. So yeah, I think hopefully that answers the question. I mean, super
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. And I hear there's quite a backlog. We're up to 70, but I hear there's quite a backlog waiting in queue as well. So it's a popular program that I think more and more operators are seeing the opportunity, as Teams Phone specifically is just growing exponentially in market and outstripping its peers in UCaaS. I think there's a lot of interest in jumping into this space. We've been painting nothing but a rosy picture, in my opinion, of Operator Connect. Can I ask all three of you, what are some of the common pitfalls and challenges that carriers and partners should be aware of in adopting Operator Connect? Let's start with Taimur.
They're absolutely.
I'll throw you the fastball.
Yeah, no, I think that a lot of times you're right. It's a very popular program. A lot of operators want to be a part of the program, and yes, we do have a backlog of operators that we're working through at the moment. I think a lot of our operators don't realize the work that's required to be onboarded. Like, I think a lot of people thought, hey, I'll just pass some sort of certification and then we'll be listed. But there's a bunch of work that needs to be done, both on the physical layer as well as the software layer, to be able to really deliver this capability. There's a bunch of APIs, there's some requirements around availability and networking and so on. So I think, that's why it takes so long, because people, once they get the SIP spec and they get the requirements, they're like, oh, this actually means I need devs, I need to figure out where my data centers are, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that would be one thing, is people should be aware of what it takes. And then also, I think there is a bar, and perhaps this is something we have to work on our side, but there's a bar of bare minimum Operator Connect partners, and then what you do on top of that, right? And so there's a bunch of operators that are our Operator Connect partners, and they're fantastic, and they're doing great service and got good customers to service. But then there's other things that you can do as an operator that you could enhance your Operator Connect offering, like really enhance reporting and billing, and there's just so many things. And I feel like people don't really take the trouble to go that extra step to make their own Operator Connect service differentiated, so that customers are not just shopping for price, they're shopping for value, and be able to do that. So I think there's a upfront work that needs to be done, which I don't think people are aware of, and then there's a beyond launch. How can I make my Operator Connect offering richer and better, which I feel like people don't really pay attention to.
That's a great point. Adam, any type of pitfalls or challenges that carriers or partners, and in your experience, partners should be aware of with OC?
Yeah, I would say, and Tamor did a great job of talking about more of the back end and more of the higher up pieces. I would say I'm actually going to kind of pivot and talk a little bit maybe towards the customer side a little bit more.
Mm-hmm.
I think what we see in Operator Connect is the question you want to be asking is what are my needs specifically? And I keep hyping in on that, and it's the normal business thing, but things like, hey, am I trying to connect fax machines? And Steve, you mentioned this earlier. Am I trying to connect contact centers into what I'm trying to do? And there's a number of ways that we can bring contact center into Teams. And so with that, if you're going down one of those connected models, does your Operator Connect provider support those other connections? So often we get into this mindset where it's Operator Connect, it's only the telephony to Teams, but it has to be a bit part of a bigger picture. And we've got all these great components, whether it's SIP Gateway, et cetera, that give us flexibility into Teams. But there's certain points where, whether it's Operator Connect, direct routing as a service, there's a need for it to provide some connectivity to other systems that you may have to have around. You may have a legacy system that, contact centers don't move as quickly as we would all like. We've moved Teams and we've moved PSTN users very, very quickly. Contact centers usually have deep CRM integrations, things like that just take us time. So having that ability to be flexible, that's my one pitfall for customers to ask questions about upfront is, what is my ability to connect? And I know here with SIPPIO, we can, with that, we can actually create a lot of those connections, and that's a benefit for us. But that's the first spot where I tell people to ask questions around.
Great point. Dino, common pitfalls or challenges?
I'm gonna stick with Adam's point there, and that's it's not a fit for all customers. Sometimes they just go and it's easy to set up, and then they realize, oh, my carrier doesn't have 800 numbers, or they don't support fax, and all this other stuff. So you need to document what it is you're looking for. I had a customer reach out saying, I implemented Operator Connect and I can't control, the carrier that they went with didn't allow them to control international calling because they had users all over, and the settings are a little bit, let's say, kind of black and white or crude in the Teams admin center to be able to control things like that. So it's important to even check with your Operator Connect vendor or partner or operator, hey, do you allow me to set international calling on your end? So things like that. So just ask a lot of the questions, make a note of all the use cases that you're looking for, and there's a lot of partners to select from. So make sure you do your homework.
Sure. So let's dip into the questions that the audience has been pushing through. Again, audience, if you have questions, put them into the chat. We'll try and buzz through as many as we can live before the top of the hour. But if we need to, we'll follow up with you direct via email as well if we don't get to your question. So I think this one I touched on a little bit. What is the strategy on offering an Operator Connect to the TSP and agent marketplace? So SIPPIO is a proud supplier in the Avant, Telarus, and TD SYNNEX marketplaces in North America. So you can immediately start signing up and selling these services. So again, if you've been struggling trying to position UCaaS to a customer that's using Teams, they already got 2/3 of the solution figured out. They're using Teams for messaging and video. they're asking you to turn on phone. They're not asking you to resell the whole thing. So by introducing SIPPIO, leveraging our Operator Connect for Partners program, you can immediately go in there and start selling a solution that's faster to deploy. It's easier for the customer to use. It's flexible for you as a partner. And oh, by the way, it's going to pay a lot more than the UCaaS offers, anywhere from 30 to 50% more. So we think we've got a winning solution there. Let me ask Adam and Dino this question. And Tamor, I'm going to kind of say you might have a conflict of interest, so but feel free to chime in if you want. What are the three major decision criteria between choosing a Microsoft calling plan versus Operator Connect besides cost? I don't know. You already took the number one answer off the board, in my opinion, but you guys have anything you want to chime in there? I think it's a mix and match. There may be places where that makes sense, but go ahead.
I would have gone back to what Dino and I were just commenting on, which is integrations. You know, there's when you go to calling plans, you're not going to be able to do some of the things like the connected model for contact center integration. So depending on where you go with that, there may be a choice that you're making simply by choosing Operator Connect versus Teams calling plan. Not good or bad, it's just a choice that you've now made from that perspective. And so you may be limiting your choices of contact center providers in some of those cases. And but voice quality wise, you're not gonna limit yourself. You're gonna have that same experience. So it's really just an integration choice. That's my number one.
Okay. Dino, you want to take a stab at?
Yeah, maybe Tamor will have to plug his ears on this, but probably I'm going to say porting. So if you have a lot of porting requirements, that's where Operator Connect wins, because you'll have a better experience porting to a partner than over to calling plans. And this is just a brutally honest, observation that I see. Operator Connect partners and carriers will give you that much more kind of valet service and dealing with your porting needs. If you're doing, versus calling plans where it's more of a standard procedure and you're through emails and support tickets. So that would probably be my number one thing. Again, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Steve. Cost is really the number one answer. But if you throw that aside, then my next answer would have been porting.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys missed it in my title, but I'm probably the most carrier-friendly person in Microsoft, so this is not a conflict of interest. I think there's several other things that I wanted to call out. Like, yes, porting is a good one, cost is a good one, but calling plans don't allow a lot of flexibility in terms of, let's say, integration. I was talking about a bunch of different scenarios around building hybrid solutions for analog devices or third-party PBXs or so many other things. And additionally, like a lot of our customers have these long-standing, long-negotiated contracts. Sometimes they're 30 years old, by the way, these contracts, where they've negotiated these rates for international calling and inbound toll-free and all that kind of stuff. And so nobody wants to abandon that. So there's definitely that as well. And also billing. I think billing is an important one, because if you have a mix of calling plan and Operator Connect and direct routing, like you've got 3 different places where you're going to pay your bill, it becomes really difficult. So a lot of people want to consolidate their operator. They want to go move with an operator that provides them coverage in the 5 or 6 countries that they're in, rather than go with calling plan in one place and something else somewhere else. So there's tons and tons of reasons why you would consider one or the other. And I think those are important choices. But like I said before, I'll iterate it again. It's not an either or choice. You can have all 3 of them in one organization, and that's perfectly fine.
And I'm going to add one more kind of bonus answer, in my opinion, is reach. So one of the values that the SIPPIO platform offers to our carrier partners, to our traditional partners, is that we offer service in over 70 countries. So a lot of times we can actually augment their existing network. So, a carrier provider may want to use their services. So we put our automation on their horsepower and they're using their network, but there may be regions that they can't reach that we have services in, so they can use our network to augment it. And I think the same thing holds true with calling plans. If a customer, has a calling plan, or they choose a calling plan for a certain spot, we can still potentially augment that with our solution to get them service in a variety of different countries. So hopefully that gave us, I think we might have given you 4 for the price of 3 answers on that question. Let's take a look, see if there's another. I'm trying to go by the ones that have the most responses in the chat. Is there an online demo available to illustrate voice and feature services integrations into Teams? I think the answer to that is a yes. The follow-up will be where we can get that to you, because there's a variety of different great sources that are out there. Any jumping off top of mind to you guys?
I think it depends on what they're looking for. When you say voice and feature services integration, I think the integration piece automatically makes me go to third-party integration in head versus, you know, the voice features that you can get, you know, the rich voice features that you get out of Teams right away. So probably 2 different spots, and it's going to depend on the third party that you're asking about.
Yeah, we have tons and tons of videos on our public YouTube channels, as well as on the Microsoft sites, both partner and sort of customer, that talk a little bit about Teams Phone. If you're looking for what does it look like, Teams Phone, in terms of making calls, receiving calls, and some of that integration, you can definitely check out those videos and see some demos there as well.
So I'll use this as a shameless plug. SIPPIO, we have a whole marketing in a box for our partners that includes a lot of content that you can use. We're also going through re-recording new content. So Ted on our team is working on basically this exact task, showing end-to-end different types of scenarios and use cases. So this way our partners will have more collateral. We're not just a tech company, we're a business success company, and we give our partners that content. I'm going to ask this question, and I'm going to also kind of frame this in a different way. So Rick asks, can you subscribe to multiple Operator Connect partners for DR purposes? I believe the answer to that is necessarily a no, because the numbers live with one operator.
Right.
But I want to point out, you can use multiple operators, again, for reach. So, you know, if you choose one operator and they don't have service in a specific area, you could potentially choose a second operator for that. And this is one of those things where you want to look at the operator you're choosing. So at SIPPIO, we've got points of presence in 9 different Azure instances. Our platform's fully meshed. It doesn't fail. We have not had an outage. We've got a 99.999% uptime. But you can have multiple operators, and to Taimur's point, you can mix and match. So you may have some direct routing as a service. You may have some Operator Connect. You may even have some calling plans in there. So you can mix and match. Did I answer that question right, guys? Anybody want to chime in extra on that?
That was good.
Is Operator Connect a pure cloud voice solution, or the service provider SPCs that provide the PSTN connectivity can be on-premise as well? Anybody want to grab that one?
Customer perspective, it's 100% cloud. You're not looking or touching at SBCs. That's all taken care of by your operator, so you don't have to worry about any of that.
It's a fully cloud consumed service.
Agree. Yeah. That's how you lower your total cost of ownership. No hardware needed, lowers the complexity, just makes it fast and scalable. You build once, you sell it 1,000 times instead of building 1,000 times and selling each one once. I'm going to answer this one, but I'll let you guys chime in as well. So somebody asks, if we're a customer already using direct routing as a service with SIPPIO and audio codes, what are the benefits, if any, in moving to Operator Connect? You're already live. Think of direct routing, Operator Connect, direct routing as a service, calling plans. They're all routes to a destination, and that destination is enabling Teams Phone. Once you're at the destination, you don't really need to change the route that you use to get there, in my opinion. Some are more direct than others. I think, you know, if you imagine this kind of as like a Google map suggesting different routes, Operator Connect is the most direct. Maybe you don't want to go on the highways. Maybe you want to route around. So that may be where direct routing or calling plans as a service comes in. But I don't personally think there's much benefit in changing because you're already at your destination. But anybody want to chime in or counter that?
Yeah, I would say the only potential benefit, and this is a stretch, I'll just be honest, because I kind of go with you, Steve, once you're there, you're good, is the benefit of Operator Connect is over like direct routing or direct routing as a service is you're no longer having to manage your voice routes within that perspective. So you kind of, again, to Taimur's point, it's removing complexity. So if you're trying to establish as a business that we're trying to consistently remove complexity from these business functions, so that as people in the business, I'm going and focusing on things that are more important to the productivity of the business than the underlying infrastructure, then Operator Connect could have a potential benefit for you. Is it worth a huge amount of cost or anything? That's a decision you'd have to sit down and look to the conversation earlier of what your ROI is. If everything's up and working and perfect for you, there may be very little neat necessity for you in that regard. If you're starting to bring on lots and lots of countries, Operator Connect may be really beneficial, as you don't have to deal with the voice routing components.
Yeah, the only quick thing I'll add is, and not to suggest at all that one service is better than the other, because they each have their own things that they bring to the table. Like direct routing offers this insane amount of flexibility in the things that you can do with it. But Operator Connect, one of the other things it offers is predictability from a connectivity perspective. For direct routing, you're not entirely sure the call path in terms of the connectivity that you're going to take from the SBC to Teams and all that kind of stuff. But with Operator Connect, you're guaranteed that particular connectivity has been certified and it's been looked at, and it's managed connectivity, and it's a certain amount of, X amount of gigs, and there's a QoS mechanism on top of it, and there's a bunch of different things. So there's a predictability element to Operator Connect that brings some customers comfort in the solution that they have. But like I said, it just depends on your scenario as well.
Yeah, and so the question was around DRaaS, direct routing as a service. Direct routing, to me, there's a big benefit, because it's, like this SSL cert, to Dino's point earlier, you got to manage your SBCs, you got to keep them up to date. Using more of the programmatic approach, whether it's direct routing as a service or Operator Connect via our platform, those are both, to what you just described, Taimur. It's more predictable in that.
And just to that point, like DRaaS is because it's not certified. Like I could have DRaaS from my garage. Like I could literally put up 5 SBCs in my garage and say I am a DRaaS provider, and we probably have some of those. And so it's not really predictable in terms of the quality and the availability you're going to get from there. Sure. So that's the only, if that matters, then that's a consideration to make.
Sure. So the last question before we wrap up: does the offering completely rely on a self-service model for the customer, or can the team at the partner be involved in the customer journey from order to activation? The answer is yes. You can do both, right? So we've set it up to where it can be a fully automated self-service. It's as easy as shopping on Amazon to activate service, and you turn prospects into paying customers instantly. But you can also choose to inject the sales motion into high value customers, targeted customers, or anybody that you really need to kind of jump in. Maybe they got a complex environment where you've got to mix and match DRaaS and Operator Connect. I saw Adam nodding his head. Anybody want to chime in on that piece? Or
I was going to say that for us, it's like you said, you can go to the website, to our website, and just click, and you're set up. And then for us, we can also come alongside and help. So if a customer doesn't know what they're doing, doesn't understand, there's a lot of folks out there who are tasked. Telecom's a weird spot in a lot of organizations these days. A lot of folks that are taking over telecom groups that aren't telecom people, and so when they need that assistance, we could be there for them.
Good point. All right, so we're at the top of the hour, and I just want to say thank you again to Dino, to Adam, and to Taimur for joining us for our first masterclass session. Hopefully we gave you some good education, some insight into how you can jump in to the Operator Connect program, whether you're a carrier or a partner, and how you can succeed in this marketplace in offering a new path to customers to activate Teams Phone for their communications needs versus investing in legacy infrastructure and dealing with all the headaches and the costs that come with that. So guys, thank you so much. Thank you to everybody that stayed with us on the bridge, and hope to see you next time. Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thanks.